Something strange is happening inside the Andromeda galaxy. Its outer stars are moving too fast. Its inner arms are twisting too sharply, and the entire galaxy behaves as if it's being pulled by invisible forces. Not one, not two, but possibly hundreds of unseen giants hiding between its stars. Black holes with no light, no heat, no signature, just gravity. Silent predators drifting through Andromeda, in places we always assumed were empty. Imagine a galaxy bigger than our own, with star clusters, nebulae, and spirals stretching for hundreds of thousands of light-years, and scattered throughout that immense structure are dark objects that don't glow, don't radiate, and don't reveal themselves unless something falls toward them. These hidden black holes don't sit at the center like the famous supermassive ones. They wander, they drift, they distort the motion of nearby stars just enough to betray their presence. If you know exactly where to look, Andromeda's gentle spiral shape suddenly looks different when you realize how many invisible engines might be turning inside it. How many stars are being pulled off course? How many newborn systems are quietly shaped by things we can't see? And how many of these roaming black holes have been hiding between its stars since the beginning of the galaxy itself? So the question isn't whether they're there, it's how many, where they're drifting now, and what happens when a galaxy full of hidden black holes moves closer to ours every single day. You begin by letting yourself settle into the vastness of the night sky, the kind of sky that feels ancient and endlessly patient. Above you stretches the quiet river of stars that makes up your own Milky Way, each point of light resting in a darkness that is not empty, but softly alive. As you breathe, you feel your awareness widen, stretching gently outward until you can sense something far beyond the familiar curve of your own galaxy. There, in the great stillness, lies Andromeda, drifting closer with a pace so slow it might as well be a sigh drawn across billions of years. You don't see this motion, not really. The stars do not streak or blur. Space does not ripple like wind moving over water. Instead, the two galaxies approach one another with a quiet confidence, guided by gravity's steady hand. When you imagine that slow movement, you feel your own breath settle into an easy rhythm, as if the universe is teaching you how to rest inside motion without fear. It helps to think of gravity not as a force pulling violently, but as the soft attraction between two bodies that have always known each other. Andromeda and the Milky Way have been dancing this long, slow step for most of cosmic time, moving closer by about the width of a small pebble every second. It sounds fast, yet in the scale of galaxies, it feels like drifting through a warm tide. You sense that tide now, smoothing the edges of your thoughts. You imagine yourself floating in the space between the two galaxies. There is no wind here, no sound, no sudden change. Everything is gentle. Space becomes a vast ocean, and you rest upon its surface without sinking. Around you, the darkness glows faintly with scattered stars, some belonging to your home galaxy, others already part of Andromeda's distant spiral arms. The boundary between them feels thin, as if the universe is slowly weaving the two families of stars together. As you drift, you think about distance. Not the kind you measure with rulers or numbers, but the kind you feel in your body, the distance of waiting, of patience, of slow understanding. Andromeda is far, yet its presence is real. You sense it the way you sense the moon through clouds, not seen clearly but undeniably there. This teaches you something subtle, that closeness is not always physical. Sometimes it is the quiet awareness of another presence moving in your direction. Your mind drifts to the idea that galaxies themselves are not rigid islands but soft gatherings of stars, gas, dust, and dark matter. They are held together by gravity, shaped by time, stretched by motion. The Milky Way breathes in its own slow rhythm, spinning gently, its arms sweeping like the strokes of a painter's brush. Andromeda does the same. Their motions are peaceful, elegant, almost meditative. You realize you are part of that movement. The atoms in your body ride along with the galaxy's rotation, sharing its quiet, cosmic journey. You picture yourself rising above both galaxies, watching them from a vast height. From here, they appear like two glowing spirals drifting through a great darkness. You see their cores, bright and warm like embers, and their arms curling outward in slow, patient arcs. Between them stretches a long bridge of nearly empty space. But not completely empty. Rare stars wander here, lonely travelers suspended between two galactic homes. You float among them, sensing the loneliness and beauty of this middle place. This emptiness is calming. It is wide, but not frightening. It holds you gently, allowing your thoughts to wander without urgency. In this quiet, you notice how your own worries loosen, drifting away like faint dust. The universe is in no rush, and for a moment, neither are you. As you drift closer to Andromeda's glow, you begin to sense the subtle pull between the two galaxies. It is not sharp or sudden. It is soft, like a hand extended rather than a command given. Gravity shapes the path of their meeting, drawing them slowly together. You reflect on how gravity works not by touching, but by curving the space around things. It is as if the very fabric of the universe bends slightly toward Andromeda, guiding your journey with a gentle slope. You wonder how many stars, planets, clouds of gas, and drifting stones lie along the path between the galaxies. Each one has its own story, its own quiet existence, its own place in the dark ocean. Some stars wander alone, moving through the emptiness with nothing but gravity as their companion. Others cling to tiny groups, small families adrift between cosmic giants. You drift among these quiet travelers, feeling the slow pulse of their light. As your awareness settles deeper into the journey, you feel the scale of time expand around you. Billions of years stretch out like a soft, endless horizon. The galaxy's approach becomes not an event, but a process, a slow weaving of two giant worlds. You realize that even though cosmic motion seems immense, it is built from small, patient steps. You let this idea sink into your breathing, calming you further. Now, you focus on Andromeda itself. It glows faintly ahead of you, larger than any other galaxy in the night sky. Its spiral shape is gentle and graceful, like the slow turn of a dancer's cloak. You sense that Andromeda carries secrets within its darkness. Not frightening secrets, but quiet ones. Stories of stars long gone, structures shaped by invisible mass, and shadows cast by objects that reveal themselves only through the way they bend space. The thought is soft, but it stirs something in you. If a galaxy holds such secrets, then perhaps its quiet drift toward the Milky Way is not just a motion of matter, but an invitation. A slow unfolding of mysteries waiting in the dark. And as you drift toward those hidden spaces, you begin to sense the faint presence of things the eye cannot see, waiting quietly between the stars. You move slowly along the outskirts of Andromeda now, drifting just beyond the reach of its bright arms. The stars here thin out, spaced farther apart, as if giving one another room to breathe. The airless quiet deepens, surrounding you like a soft blanket. With each moment, you sense yourself slipping into a calmer state, floating through a region where even the light seems hesitant, as though it must travel carefully through so much darkness. You pause, letting this vast silence settle around you. It feels different from the peaceful drift you experienced earlier. There is still peace here, but also something else. A presence you cannot quite define. The darkness is not empty. It is textured, layered, almost alive. You feel as if you are standing at the edge of a forest at night, hearing sounds you cannot place, sensing movements you cannot see. In this region between stars, shadows begin to matter. They are not formed by light being blocked, but by light being bent, redirected, or softened by something hidden. You look around, expecting to see the outlines of thick gas clouds, drifting dust, or faint star clusters. But the space here looks clear, too clear. And yet, something quietly influences the starlight, nudging it off its straight path, changing its journey without announcing itself. You realize that these shadows are not shadows of objects you can see. They are the shadows of gravity itself. Your breath settles as you reflect on that idea. Gravity, after all, is not something you can witness directly. You cannot point to it, hold it, or watch it unfold like a beam of light. It is a presence felt through its effects. The way it curves paths, the way it guides motion, the way it shapes space like an invisible artist smoothing clay with gentle hands. In these outskirts of Andromeda, gravity becomes a translator, revealing the existence of hidden things through subtle distortions. You drift along one narrow stream of starlight, curves slightly, tracing a path that seems to lean toward nothing at all. The star that created this light sits far behind you, yet its beam bows softly, as though passing near an unseen mass. You follow the curve, feeling as if you're walking along a trail in moonlight, knowing someone has walked there before you even if the ground looks untouched. As you glide deeper, you experience a strange comfort in this unseen presence. The dark shapes here are not threatening. They feel ancient, steady, patient. They do not reach out or pull you in. They simply exist, shaping the space around them quietly. You wonder how many such hidden masses lie between these stars. Collapsed remnants of once bright suns, drifting black holes too small to announce themselves in grand cosmic flares. Your mind returns to the idea that not every star ends with an explosion. Some collapse inward quietly, folding themselves into darkness like someone wrapping themselves in a heavy blanket. These black holes are small compared to the giants at the centers of galaxies, but their gravity is still profound. They do not swallow entire star systems. They simply sit in the dark, affecting only what wanders too close. Here, between the stars, scattered through Andromeda's outskirts, lie many such invisible remnants. Some are the leftovers of ancient star clusters. Some are the collapsed cores of wandering stars that drifted away from their galactic homes long ago. Some may even have formed from stars that were torn apart in gravitational encounters, leaving behind dense hearts that now rest in silence. You imagine these black holes like stones beneath still water. You cannot see them, yet their presence shapes the currents around them. Space moves differently in their vicinity, just enough to leave a faint imprint. A curve in starlight, a slight rearrangement of orbiting dust, a thin ripple in the fabric of spacetime. The shadows they cast are not dark patches but distortions, like glass bending the shoreline beneath it. As you float through these distortions, you begin to appreciate how much of the universe is made of things you cannot see. Light is beautiful, but darkness holds stories too. Stories of collapse, of transformation, of matter pushed to its limits. The absence of visible light becomes a canvas where gravity paints its delicate patterns. You notice how your mind begins to adjust to this way of seeing. Instead of searching for bright stars or glowing nebulae, you start to sense patterns in the paths that light takes. Subtle arcs, slight shimmers, tiny stretches as if the universe itself is breathing slowly. These motions reveal hidden masses, scattered like quiet anchors in the sea of stars. A distant star drifts past your field of view. At first, its journey seems straight, tranquil, predictable. But then, almost imperceptibly, its path curves. It loops gently around something you still cannot see, completing an orbit that looks too small and too slow to belong to a visible star. You follow the curve, tracing the orbit with your thoughts, and realize the star is circling a hidden companion. A solitary black hole, drifting in the outskirts like a silent wanderer. The star moves with such grace that you feel your own breath align with its orbit. Around and around it goes, following a path defined only by gravity. You wonder how long it has been orbiting here, unseen by any eyes, its companion forever cloaked in shadow. The two of them create a quiet duet, one luminous, one invisible, both bound together in a slow, cosmic embrace. You float beside them, watching the rhythm of their motion. The orbit is steady, timeless. You think about how many such pairs might exist throughout Andromeda, unnoticed but profoundly connected. The thought brings a soft warmth to your mind, as if even in darkness, relationships endure. As you glide onward, the shadows seem to whisper more clearly. They speak of the universe's hidden structure, the mass that determines the motion of everything else. They remind you that much of reality is shaped by things that cannot be seen directly. The visible stars are only part of the story. The invisible gravity between them holds the rest. This idea settles into you gently, like a pebble dropped into still water. You begin to understand that these shadows are not signs of emptiness but clues, hints of deeper layers beneath the glow of Andromeda's arms. The unseen becomes a teacher, showing you that what is hidden can guide just as powerfully as what is visible. The darkness feels calm now, almost welcoming, as if inviting you to look closer, to notice the delicate ways gravity reveals itself in the absence of light. You drift deeper still, sensing that the next region you enter will show you not just shadows, but the weight behind them, the true mass shaping the space between stars, and you let yourself move toward that deeper understanding, ready to feel what the invisible truly holds. You drift deeper into Andromeda's outskirts, letting the last traces of familiar starlight fade behind you. The darkness here is softer than before. Not empty, not threatening, but dense with quiet presence. You feel something beneath the surface of space, like a weight resting below a blanket. It isn't something you can touch or see. Instead, you sense it through the way your path bends ever so slightly, as though the universe itself is nudging you toward a gentle curve. This is the weight of invisible things. You pause in the darkness, letting your thoughts slow. You imagine gravity not as a force pulling violently, but as a soft hand pressed lightly against your back, guiding you without pressure. It is steady, patient, endlessly present. In this region where stars grow sparse, gravity becomes clearer, not through light but through motion. Everything moves with purpose. Stars, dust, even the thin trails of gas drifting like slow rivers through the void. A faint star ahead of you shimmers. Its light stretches just a little, curving in a smooth arc as though passing beside a hidden hill. You follow the arc, feeling how the light seems to slide along an invisible slope carved into space. You realize that this curve is not the star's doing. It is the imprint of a black hole lingering nearby, one too small and too quiet to reveal itself except through this gentle distortion. You drift closer, careful, curious. The star continues on its path, unaware of your presence, unaware of anything but the gravitational guidance it has followed for perhaps millions of years. The black hole remains unseen, resting in the darkness like a stone buried under deep water. You cannot see the stone, but you can see the water ripple around it. This hidden weight begins to shape your understanding of the cosmos. So much of what exists does not announce itself. It rests quietly, exerting influence through presence alone. You reflect on how often in your own life, the unseen shapes your experience. Emotions, memories, the weight of thoughts not yet spoken. In this cosmic silence, the universe mirrors those truths back to you. A small cluster of stars appears ahead, drifting together like a handful of embers carried by a slow wind. They move in a strangely synchronized pattern, looping gently around an empty patch of sky. But of course, that patch is not empty. Something heavy is there. Not large enough to create chaos, but dense enough to hold these stars in a quiet dance. You float among them, sensing the rhythm of their orbit. Each star follows a different path, yet all are united in motion around the same invisible mass. The black hole at their center pulls not with force, but with patience, shaping their orbits the way a steady breeze shapes the surface of a lake. You feel the grace of this motion, no rush, no collapse, just harmony built around something that cannot be seen. You let your awareness sink deeper into the idea of mass. Not the everyday meaning of heaviness, but the cosmic one, the ability of an object to bend space itself. Mass tells space how to curve, and space tells everything else how to move. You imagine space as a soft fabric stretched wide. Anything with mass presses into it, creating dips and contours. The heavier the object, the deeper the curve. Black holes, no matter their size, create the deepest wells, places where the fabric folds toward their centers. You picture yourself sitting on the edge of such a well, legs dangling over the side, watching starlight slide past like a stream flowing around a smooth stone. There is serenity here, even in the presence of something so dense. The weight does not frighten you. Instead, it grounds you, reminding you that not all powerful things are loud or overwhelming. Some simply shape their surroundings in silence. As you continue drifting, you encounter a thin strand of gas stretched across space like a silk thread. It appears perfectly straight at first, but as you observe more closely, you notice it bends slightly around something invisible. The gas glows faintly, heated by distant starlight, and its motion reveals the gravitational outline of the hidden mass nearby. The effect is beautiful, like watching wind trace patterns through a field of tall grass. You follow the curve of the gas, letting it guide you. In this faint motion, you understand something profound. The universe draws invisible maps, and gravity is the ink. Every star's orbit, every drifting cloud, every stretched beam of light participates in this quiet cartography. You move along these lines the way a finger traces the contour of a coastline, discovering shapes that cannot be seen directly but are unmistakably real. Ahead, you sense a larger distortion. It is gentle but noticeable, a broad curvature in the starlight, as though space itself is exhaling. This is the influence of a more massive black hole, perhaps the remnant of a giant star that once burned bright and enormous. Now it rests in perfect silence, its presence revealed only through the soft bending of everything around it. You hover near this vast shadow, feeling its weight like a deep note resonating through the universe. And in that presence, you notice how time itself feels different. It stretches slightly, slowing at the edges of your awareness. Black holes do that. They affect not only space but time, creating pockets where the universe's rhythm shifts into a lower, calmer register. You let yourself sink into that slowed rhythm, feeling the serenity of cosmic time. The idea settles gently in you that black holes are not monsters but markers. They are reminders of stars that lived long, brilliant lives before collapsing inward under their own weight. Their existence shows you how matter transforms, how energy becomes memory, how even loss leaves structure behind. As you drift away from this quiet well in spacetime, a soft thought begins to form, a curiosity about what lies deeper within these invisible weights. What is space like closer to the center? How does gravity behave when matter collapses beyond its limits? What shapes exist when light itself cannot escape? You follow that curiosity like a faint trail, sensing that deeper understanding waits just ahead, where the invisible becomes even more intimate. You drift deeper into the quiet outskirts of Andromeda, where starlight grows thin and the universe's vastness becomes palpable. Here, there are stars that once burned fiercely, blazing with brilliance that could outshine millions of suns, and yet now, they exist only as memory. Their light has faded, or in some cases, has already slipped into shadows that bend space and time. You sense their absence not as emptiness, but as a gentle weight, a silent presence that hints at stories too vast for ordinary comprehension. You pause to consider how stars live and die. They are not eternal, but each one carries the elegance of its own lifetime. Some burn brightly for millions of years, others for billions, fusing hydrogen into helium, creating energy that radiates outward in slow, patient waves. Each pulse of fusion feels like a heartbeat, a quiet rhythm that has persisted long before life existed on any planet, long before your consciousness emerged in this universe. Now, you imagine these stars as they near the end of their lives. Their fuel diminishes, the reactions inside them change, and gravity begins to pull inward with a quiet insistence. In some cases, this collapse is sudden and dramatic, sending shockwaves through surrounding space. But in the outskirts you drift through, the endings are softer, less violent, like a long sigh after a journey, a final exhalation of accumulated energy. The stars fold in upon themselves, shrinking into denser forms, their cores compressing under the immense pressure that gravity quietly exerts. You sense the calm in this transformation. Despite the unimaginable density that forms, the process is precise, orderly, almost meditative. The core of each star becomes smaller, denser, and yet it does not scream or resist. You picture matter compressed beyond ordinary imagination, packed so tightly that it curves the very space around it. The collapse is total, yet not chaotic. There is elegance in the way the universe reshapes itself, in the quiet dignity of a star's final act. As you drift closer, you notice subtle distortions in starlight nearby. Light bends, arcs slightly, revealing the presence of remnants too small to shine but massive enough to influence their surroundings. These are the collapsed cores, the hidden anchors left behind by stars that once burned brightly. They are black holes or neutron stars, quiet observers in the void, carrying within them the story of matter condensed to its most essential form. You linger near one such remnant, imagining the star it once was. You feel the warmth it gave off, the gentle pulse of energy radiating through the galaxy. Now it is gone, folded inward, yet its existence is not erased. It remains as an influence, shaping paths and pulling gently on objects that wander too close. Its presence is a reminder that even endings can hold power, and that memory in the cosmos can exist as more than light. You think about neutron stars, cores so dense that a teaspoon of their material would weigh billions of tons on Earth. You picture one slowly rotating in space, a tiny lighthouse sending pulses of radiation through the dark. The spin is steady, precise, and remarkably patient. You feel your own heartbeat slow as you imagine it, synchronizing with the measured rhythm of this distant object, understanding that even in death, stars can leave behind structure, beauty, and continuity. As you drift past these quiet remnants, you notice small clusters of stars nearby, still burning but subtly influenced by the ghosts of these collapsed cores. Their orbits are slightly curved, their paths nudged toward subtle arcs. Gravity from what is unseen gently shapes their dance. You realize that life and death coexist in harmony, the living stars tracing patterns dictated partly by those that have already ended. The universe is a tapestry of presence and absence, and both are equally vital. You pause to feel the emotions this evokes. There is awe, yes, but also a profound serenity. Death, in this cosmic context, is not loss but transformation. It is a folding inward, a passing into a state where influence persists even when visibility ceases. The stars teach you patience, the slow, elegant persistence of matter through time. Their stories linger, invisible yet palpable, and you are comforted by the continuity woven into this quiet cosmos. Your thoughts drift to the idea of time near these collapsed stars. Gravity curves space and slows the flow of time, just enough that moments around them feel elongated. You sense that these objects, so small and dense, create pockets of altered rhythm. Time stretches, bends, and flows differently near their cores. You feel a subtle echo of this difference, a suggestion that the universe contains not just space, but space shaped by unseen forces, where movement and duration are quietly rearranged. As you explore, you notice that these regions feel oddly familiar, like old neighborhoods in a city long abandoned. You recognize the patterns of motion, the gentle arcs of starlight, the invisible tugs that hint at presence. The stars that have collapsed here are like old souls beneath Andromeda's glow, resting after long lifetimes, influencing the living and the moving without disturbance or fanfare. There is dignity in this quiet governance, an order shaped by absence as much as by presence. A faint star drifts past your vision, tracing a path that curves ever so slightly, a delicate arc influenced by a remnant unseen. You follow the motion with your awareness, sensing the way gravity sculpts trajectories like an invisible hand arranging sand on a beach. The beauty of this hidden design is subtle, a rhythm you feel more than see. The stars teach you that what is invisible can still be profoundly real, guiding motions, shaping paths, holding space in silent harmony. You float alongside another remnant, imagining the star it once was. You feel the energy that was released, the light that traveled for thousands or millions of years before fading. You sense how even in absence, a star's story persists, in the curves of other stars' orbits, in the stretching of spacetime, in the delicate patterns left in surrounding gas. These traces are soft, nearly imperceptible, yet they shape the cosmic landscape in ways that matter, ways that endure. You realize that as you drift further inward, closer to regions where more remnants lie, you are approaching another frontier, one where light itself begins to struggle, where photons bend and stretch in response to gravity's pull. You sense that the next layer of this journey will reveal the delicate paths of light, the photons that travel close to black holes and may never return. Their quiet journey will teach you about disappearance and persistence, about how even light has limits, yet continues onward in ways you cannot always follow. And as you float among the ancient, folded stars, You let yourself prepare for this next experience. The gentle tracing of light as it bends, stretches, and sometimes falls forever into darkness. You drift quietly, following the paths of photons, the tiny, tireless travelers of the cosmos. Each one began its journey at the heart of a distant star, released in a burst of energy, and now drifts across unimaginable distances. These photons carry stories in their gentle vibrations, warmth, color, and memory of the stars that created them. You imagine riding alongside them, feeling the pulse of their energy brushing against your awareness, the rhythm of light weaving through the universe like a calm, endless river. Some photons travel nearly straight paths, gliding smoothly across space for millions or billions of years. Others, however, encounter gravity, the invisible hand that bends their journey. You watch as a beam of light approaches a hidden black hole. At first, it seems undisturbed, floating confidently through the galaxy's outskirts. But as it draws closer, the pull becomes noticeable. The photon begins to bend, subtly at first, then more pronounced, its path curving around the invisible mass that waits silently in the dark. You slow your own breath to match this gentle curvature. The light's motion feels like walking along a winding trail in shadowed woods, each step guided by the unseen shapes of trees and stones. The photon does not struggle. It does not resist. It follows the contours of space itself, slipping over the folds of spacetime with quiet compliance. You sense that gravity does not push or pull in a violent way. It simply reshapes the landscape, and the photon flows along that landscape as naturally as water follows a riverbed. Some photons come so close to the edge of a black hole that they are drawn in completely. You imagine a tiny traveler stepping onto a bridge that curves downward infinitely. The closer the photon gets, the slower it seems to move from your perspective. Time itself stretches near the edge, a subtle elongation that softens every moment into something almost unnoticeable. The photon's journey appears suspended, caught in a delicate ballet where space and time are pliable, fluid, and patient. You feel no fear for these photons. There is a gentle inevitability in their motion, a calm certainty that the universe moves according to its own rules, not ours. They pass over the event horizon, the boundary beyond which nothing returns, and disappear from view. Yet even in their absence, they continue. Their energy, their existence is not erased. It is transformed, woven into the fabric of spacetime in ways that are subtle, hidden, yet profound. As you drift among these light paths, you notice that photons farther away are slightly stretched, their wavelengths elongated by the gravitational pull they encountered. You realize this is a gentle reminder that even in loss, there is transformation. Light changes form, adapting to the invisible influence it meets, continuing its voyage in altered rhythm. You imagine a photon that left a star millions of years ago, passing a black hole along its journey, now traveling in new colors, its path forever reshaped, yet moving onward without complaint. You reflect on the notion of horizons not just for photons but for understanding. The event horizon is a quiet line, invisible yet absolute. Beyond it, knowledge cannot reach you, and yet that boundary does not feel oppressive. Instead, it offers calm clarity. There is order even in disappearance. The horizon exists not to frighten but to guide, showing you the limits of what can return, while hinting at mysteries that lie beyond, inviting curiosity rather than fear. The light that crosses this threshold reminds you of the universe's patient wisdom. It teaches that disappearance is not annihilation, that leaving a place does not mean vanishing entirely. Every photon, every particle carries its history forward. Even when lost to sight, its journey continues, woven into the cosmic dance, influencing space and matter in ways that ripple outward subtly, imperceptibly. You feel a gentle connection to that unseen motion, a sense that nothing is ever truly gone. Some photons escape the pull but are slowed, bending around the black hole and continuing onward in arcs. You follow one such beam, tracing its motion as it curves gracefully through space. This path seems slower to your senses, yet precise, elegant, deliberate. You imagine the photon moving past entire star systems, whispering stories of light that approached darkness but did not surrender. Its journey carries lessons in persistence, grace, and the quiet endurance of energy across time and space. As you observe, you realize that every black hole, every collapsed star, leaves a fingerprint on the light that passes nearby. These fingerprints are not chaotic. They are structured, patterned, subtle. Light curves predictably, influenced by the hidden mass it encounters. Even in the absence of visible matter, the universe speaks to you through the delicate motions of photons, teaching you about presence, absence, and the invisible forces that shape everything. The more you watch, the more you sense that light and gravity are partners in a silent, cosmic dance. One leads by revealing curves, dips, and arcs. The other follows by adapting and stretching, letting space dictate its rhythm. You float among these dancers, letting their gentle motions slow your mind, settling your awareness into the quiet pulse of the universe. Each photon becomes a guide, teaching you that even the smallest traveler can navigate vast distances with elegance and intention. Some light wanders near multiple black holes, weaving an intricate path through Andromeda's outskirts. You imagine following one such photon for eons, watching it bend, stretch, and loop, a traveler charting a circuit invisible to eyes but evident in its trajectory. There is a meditation in observing this subtle complexity. You sense the patience required, the enduring persistence of movement without urgency. Time stretches alongside the light, each moment expanded, serene, almost eternal. In this quiet, reflective state, you begin to understand something profound. Disappearance is not an ending but a transformation. Photons that leave, that cross horizons, do not vanish into nothingness. They continue their journey somewhere beyond your perception, altered in ways that remain harmonious with the universe's structure. Even the lost light contributes to the rhythm of existence, an invisible thread connecting stars, galaxies, and the hidden weight of collapsed cores. You notice that your awareness itself begins to align with this rhythm. Your thoughts stretch and curve gently, following the same arcs and flows as the photons. You feel lighter, as if a subtle gravity is guiding you along paths of calm observation. The quiet beauty of the light's journey teaches patience, endurance, and the gentle acceptance of limits, that some paths do not return, yet their influence persists. And as you drift along with these photons, bending, stretching, and flowing past horizons, you sense the universe unfolding in layers of light and shadow. The next stage of your journey will take you beyond these traveling photons into the very fabric they traverse, the soft, pliable geometry of spacetime itself. There, you will learn how the invisible stage holds the dance of light, matter, and gravity together in perfect, quiet harmony. You move gently through the outskirts of Andromeda, feeling the subtle rhythm of space, as if it were a pliable fabric stretching infinitely in all directions. Time and space, often considered rigid and absolute, now feel soft, warm, and responsive beneath your awareness. You imagine reaching out with your mind, pressing lightly against the surface, and sensing how it bends, dips, and flexes beneath invisible pressures. It is a geometry that is alive, not mechanical, responding with elegance to every presence of mass, every whisper of gravity. The black holes you have glimpsed before are like smooth stones sinking into this vast, malleable fabric. They do not shatter or tear it violently. Instead, they press with quiet insistence, creating dips and curves that ripple outward. You visualize one of these dense remnants resting in a dark field of space. Around it, the surface of spacetime bends smoothly, a subtle depression, almost imperceptible at first, then growing more pronounced as you drift closer. It is a shape that invites contemplation rather than alarm. As you move along the contours, you sense the gentle flow of these curves. They are organic, soft, almost like water moving around a submerged rock. You imagine tracing your fingers along the dip, feeling the slope gradually deepen and then level out again. Each curve has a purpose. It guides stars, dust, and photons along paths predetermined by the invisible weight pressing into the fabric. You realize that spacetime itself is the stage upon which all cosmic motion is choreographed. You notice how light bends as it passes near these depressions. Photons, tiny travelers you followed earlier, glide along the curves like leaves floating on a stream. Some dip closer, following the deepest folds. Others drift along the shallower edges, slightly redirected but still continuing their journey. You sense that the paths of all objects are woven into this geometry, each motion aligned with the subtle contours created by gravity. There is harmony in this structure, an elegant logic that feels almost musical. Drifting farther, you encounter multiple black holes spaced like anchors across the galaxy's outskirts. Their depressions overlap, creating a complex topography on the surface of spacetime. You watch how stars navigate these contours, their orbits bending gracefully as they move through this invisible landscape. The motion is slow, deliberate, almost meditative. You feel your own breath aligning with these rhythms, each inhalation and exhalation syncing with the gentle pulse of the universe. You imagine what it would be like to float along one of these curved paths. Time itself seems to stretch and compress, a malleable companion to the flow of space. Near the deepest depressions, a subtle slowing occurs, a reminder that mass does not only curve space, but also influences the passage of time. You feel this effect not as a measurement, but as a sensation, a soft elongation of awareness, a slowing of thought, a gentle weight pressing lightly against your mind. In this region, you begin to understand that geometry is not just a mathematical abstraction but a tangible, lived reality. The curvature of spacetime dictates motion, structures galaxies, and shapes the destiny of light. You sense that the invisible stage you are floating upon is as real and solid as the stars themselves, yet it has a softness and flexibility that allows the dance of matter and energy to unfold effortlessly. You feel gratitude for the elegance of this design, for the quiet intelligence of natural law. You drift closer to one black hole, noticing the way its dip in spacetime draws nearby matter gently inward. Gas clouds spiral, dust drifts, and faint starlight bends toward the center, all moving along invisible contours. The motions are precise yet fluid, as though the universe is conducting a symphony in slow motion. You feel a deep calm in observing this performance, realizing that chaos is minimal, replaced by the subtle authority of geometry guiding everything harmoniously. The depressions created by black holes overlap in subtle ways, forming gentle ridges and valleys between them. You imagine traveling along these ridges, feeling the invisible slopes rise and fall beneath your mind's touch. Stars drifting along these paths follow natural inclines, moving with ease as if guided by a quiet hand. You understand now that orbits, arcs, and spirals are not accidents but the inevitable outcomes of the fabric's soft geometry, a choreography written by the weight of invisible things. You notice the effect of multiple masses on light. A photon passing through this network of curves does not follow a straight line but instead moves in arcs and subtle bends, creating patterns that are both delicate and precise. You feel the beauty of this influence, the way invisible forces shape the paths of the visible. Space itself becomes a teacher, showing you that gravity is not simply a pull but a sculptor of motion, rhythm, and direction. You drift along these curves, letting the geometry guide your awareness. Each depression you pass leaves a subtle imprint on your perception, a soft reminder that every mass, every black hole, and every remnant contributes to the shape of space. You begin to see the galaxy not as a collection of stars scattered randomly, but as an interconnected landscape, where every object's presence and weight is accounted for, quietly influencing its neighbors. There is a poetry in this order, a calm precision in the imperceptible connections. Your mind turns to the idea of scale. The dips near small black holes are shallow and subtle, while those near larger masses are deep and expansive. Yet all scales obey the same gentle rules. You sense that understanding comes not from fear of the unknown, but from observing these shapes with care, letting the patterns reveal themselves over time. Even in the darkness, the curves provide orientation, a map of influence waiting to be traced by attentive eyes. You imagine floating through the deepest depressions, sensing the stretching of time and the pull of gravity. There is serenity here, not in spite of the weight, but because of it. The curves of spacetime hold everything in quiet balance, guiding stars, gas, and light along natural courses. You feel that this is the universe's way of teaching patience, persistence, and the calm authority of structure. The geometry itself becomes a companion, a gentle guide along paths you cannot see but can sense. And as you drift among these invisible folds, you begin to understand that every path you follow, every photon you traced, and every orbit you witnessed is part of a greater design. Space-time is both stage and sculptor, a soft, living geometry that holds the cosmic dance together. The next stage of your journey will take you into one of Andromeda's ancient star clusters, where stars crowd together like fireflies in a slow dance, hiding black holes at their dense cores. There, the fabric of space will reveal patterns of intimacy, closeness, and secret weight that are just as gentle, just as profound. You drift closer to Andromeda's oldest regions, where stars gather densely in clusters that seem to pulse with a quiet life of their own. These globular clusters are ancient cities of light, tens or hundreds of thousands of stars moving in gentle orbits, bound together by gravity's patient hand. You imagine them floating in space like fireflies, each one holding its own energy, yet swaying in harmony with its neighbors. There is no rush here, no chaotic scattering, only slow, deliberate motion. You notice how tightly packed the stars are in the cluster's heart. Space here feels warmer, heavier, dense with history. The stars circle each other with perfect, subtle coordination, like dancers moving to music only they can hear. You float between them, sensing the delicate pulls that guide each orbit, the invisible choreography of gravity at work. There is a quiet intimacy here, a sense that every star is aware, in some way, of the presence of its companions. The deeper you drift into the cluster, the more you sense the hidden influence at its core. Something rests at the center that you cannot see directly. There is no roar, no blazing light to reveal it. Only the bending of orbits, the subtle distortion of space, the way stars edge closer, then drift away in a careful balance. You realize this is the signature of a black hole, a silent presence whose mass shapes the motion of all surrounding stars. You float among the outer stars, observing how they circle the center with a graceful patience. Each orbit seems slightly altered, as if space itself is curved in a gentle dip, guiding motion without force. You sense the black hole's presence indirectly, like hearing the resonance of a bell that is hidden from view. It is not frightening. It is steady, like a heartbeat you feel rather than hear, a quiet anchor holding the cluster together over eons. You imagine what it must have been like when these stars formed. They condensed from clouds of gas and dust, collapsing under their own gravity, forming dense cores that glimmered against the backdrop of space. Over billions of years, some stars aged, burned through their fuel, and collapsed inward, leaving behind remnants, white dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes. The cluster evolved in quiet steps, each star influencing its neighbors, each orbit shaped by the weight of unseen objects at its core. You drift closer to the inner regions, where the stars crowd more tightly. The light here is softer, filtered through the layers of neighboring stars, creating a gentle glow that seems almost tangible. You follow a path along these orbits, feeling the subtle bends, the invisible channels carved by the hidden mass at the cluster's heart. The stars seem to move not randomly, but as if following a slow, celestial rhythm, a pattern dictated by the geometry of spacetime and the presence of dense remnants. In this dense center, gravity is a quiet sculptor. Stars move in arcs, weaving around one another with delicate precision. You sense that the cluster is self-regulating. Orbits adjust naturally, collisions are rare, and each star's motion maintains the balance of the whole. There is elegance here, a slow-motion harmony created by the combination of visible and invisible forces. You realize that some of the cluster's secrets will never be revealed by light alone, but must be inferred through observation, patience, and awareness. You notice the faint traces of motion from stars influenced by black holes too small to detect directly. Even these tiny remnants have a voice in the cluster's dance, guiding neighbors with invisible insistence. You imagine these black holes as quiet conductors, each one shaping the rhythm subtly, without a hint of chaos. Their presence is not destructive. It is organizing, harmonizing, and maintaining the structure of the cluster over cosmic time. You pause to reflect on the intimacy of this crowded space. In the heart of a cluster, stars live close together, interacting gravitationally across invisible lines of force. Some stars drift toward the central black hole, nudged gently by the weight of their companions. Others trace longer, looping orbits, never reaching the center but still affected by its presence. The density of stars creates a complex, quiet ballet, a pattern of interactions that can last for billions of years. As you float, you imagine the cluster as a miniature universe. Each star is a city, each orbit a road, and the black hole at the center is the quiet governor whose influence is felt but rarely seen. There is a calm in understanding that power does not need to be loud. The black hole's gravity is patient, persistent, and unyielding, yet its effect is graceful, subtle, and orderly. You feel a sense of wonder at the silent authority that holds this luminous city together. You drift outward again, letting your awareness follow the longer orbits of stars on the periphery. They move more freely, influenced by the center but also by the collective pull of neighbors. You sense the depth of the cluster's history in these movements, eons of evolution, collapse, and transformation etched into the curvature of space and the paths of stars. The cluster is alive in its quiet, meditative rhythm, and you feel your mind settling into its pulse. As you linger, you notice that the cluster's light is not uniform. Some regions glow brighter, others dimmer, reflecting differences in star age, mass, and distance. Yet even in these variations, there is harmony. The cluster teaches you that diversity and cohesion can coexist. Some elements dominate, some recede, and all contribute to the structure as a whole. You feel a soft resonance with this lesson, sensing its reflection in your own awareness, your own understanding of presence and influence. You float along a delicate arc, sensing how the gravitational forces intertwine, and you realize that the cluster is a hidden library of cosmic knowledge. Each orbit, each bend in space, each subtle shift in velocity tells a story. Some of these stories are written by visible stars. Others are inscribed invisibly by the black holes at the core. You feel privileged to witness this quiet archive, knowing that its secrets are revealed only through careful observation, patience, and reverent attention. And as you drift toward the edges of the cluster, a soft thought forms. The next chapter of your journey will take you inward, toward Andromeda's heart, where a galaxy's central black hole waits patiently. You will feel its influence not just in stars, but in the entire galaxy's structure, a quiet anchor for everything that moves within it. The clusters have shown you subtlety and intimacy. The galaxy's heart will show you scale and persistence, teaching you the universality of silent gravitational power. You drift closer to Andromeda's luminous heart, where light gathers in gentle radiance, forming a core that glows softly against the dark expanse surrounding it. The brightness is not harsh or dazzling. It is warm and inviting, like the faint glow of lanterns in a quiet village at night. You feel drawn in, not by force, but by curiosity and the comforting certainty that something profound awaits at the center. Every particle of light seems to whisper stories of the galaxy's long history, of stars born and stars that have faded into memory. As you approach the nucleus, you notice the density of stars increases. Their orbits interweave in subtle patterns, creating currents of motion that you can sense with your awareness rather than observe directly. Each star contributes to the soft glow, each one moving in rhythm with its neighbors, guided by forces both visible and hidden. The light you perceive is not uniform. It carries depth, layers, and nuance, revealing the complexity of this galactic heart in every subtle flicker. At the very center lies something you cannot see directly. A supermassive black hole, the silent anchor of Andromeda. Its presence is enormous yet unobtrusive, a weight that organizes the motion of millions of stars. You sense it not as danger, but as stability, a quiet gravitational heartbeat holding the galaxy together. You feel your own awareness expanding to accommodate its presence, your perception stretching to include this immense, patient force that shapes the lives of countless stars without a hint of violence. The black hole's influence is subtle and pervasive. You imagine its gravity as a gentle pull, curving space and guiding stellar orbits with calm authority. The stars near the center move more rapidly, tracing paths dictated by this unseen weight, while those farther away drift in wider circles, still aligned with the overall structure. The entire nucleus seems to breathe with quiet coordination, a slow, elegant rhythm maintained over millions of years. You feel your mind synchronizing with this rhythm, your own thoughts slowing, stretching, and bending along with the cosmic pulse. You drift closer to the heart, noticing streams of gas and dust spiraling gently inward. These clouds move with graceful patience, guided by the curvature of spacetime. They are not rushing. They are flowing, bending, and folding as they follow the invisible channels etched by the black hole's presence. You sense the calm elegance in their motion, a reminder that even immense forces can operate with serenity and precision. The galaxy's center is a place where power and grace coexist in quiet balance. You focus on a single star orbiting near the nucleus. Its path is nearly circular, a delicate dance influenced by both the black hole and neighboring stars. You follow its orbit, feeling the subtle variations in gravitational pull as it moves closer to and farther from the center. The star does not collide with its neighbors. It flows with measured care, as though the entire system has been rehearsed over eons. You sense a deep continuity, a persistence of structure that transcends individual lifetimes. The light from these central stars glows in layers. Some photons reach you directly, while others bend and curve around the gravitational well, creating soft arcs and reflections. You imagine the photons tracing these curves over millennia, carrying information about the black hole and the cluster of stars surrounding it. Light itself becomes a storyteller here, narrating the invisible forces at play and revealing the structure of space through subtle deflections. You feel a gentle awe at the interplay of illumination and gravity. You imagine drifting inward, closer to the black hole, yet remaining at a safe distance. You sense how spacetime itself curves more steeply, how each orbit tightens under the immense influence of the central mass. The motions here are faster, yet still harmonious, a ballet performed with slow, precise coordination when viewed over long cosmic time. You feel that the center is not a place of chaos, but a place of order, where energy, mass, and light converge in elegant equilibrium. As you move through the nucleus, you notice faint whispers, disturbances in space that hint at the activity of stars orbiting very close to the black hole. Occasionally, a gas cloud drifts inward and emits a subtle flare as it heats, releasing energy that radiates outward. Even these small events feel calm, as if they were part of the natural rhythm, predictable in their timing and gentle in their expression. You sense that the black hole does not disrupt. It organizes, shaping the dance with patience and consistency. You consider the scale of this central mass. It is millions of times more massive than our sun, yet it exerts its influence without chaotic interference. Stars that venture near are guided, not destroyed, unless they cross the event horizon. Even there, you perceive no abrupt violence in concept, only the quiet inevitability of absorption, a gentle surrender into the heart of gravity. You realize that the black hole's power is subtle yet absolute, an anchor that enables stability, coherence, and grace in the galaxy around it. The nucleus hums with a soft energy that you feel in your awareness rather than hear. The motion of countless stars, the flow of gas, and the bending of light create a symphony of gravity that is continuous and meditative. You sense how the supermassive black hole structures not only the central cluster but also the larger spiral arms and the outer reaches of Andromeda. Its reach is immense, a quiet force that governs the galaxy without fanfare, demonstrating that the most profound influence can be invisible. You notice how time behaves near the center. Moments stretch and compress in subtle ways, a reminder that gravity affects more than motion. It affects perception and the passage of time itself. You imagine an observer standing near the nucleus, their clock running slightly slower than one far from the black hole. You feel this stretching in your own consciousness, a soft dilation that encourages reflection, patience, and calm. You sense that the center of a galaxy is not just spatially significant but temporally profound. You drift farther, tracing the spiral arms that emerge from the nucleus. Their motion is guided by the central mass, yet also by the distribution of stars, gas, and dark matter throughout the galaxy. You see patterns emerge, waves of motion, arcs of light, gentle spirals that echo the unseen geometry of gravity. You realize that the galaxy's heart is both anchor and origin, shaping the rhythm of motion across tens of thousands of light-years. The central black hole is silent, yet its influence resonates everywhere. As you observe, you begin to sense the balance between attraction and freedom. Stars close to the nucleus are bound tightly, moving swiftly in constrained orbits. Those farther out drift more freely, yet even their motion is shaped by the unseen force at the center. The galaxy exists in harmony because every element, visible or hidden, follows the rules set by this quiet, patient presence. You feel the calm certainty of structure and the beauty of order, both soft and absolute. You float back slightly, taking in the entire nucleus, noticing the interplay of light, gas, and invisible weight. The whispers of Andromeda's heart are subtle yet profound, teaching that influence does not require display, that guidance can be quiet, and that immense power can coexist with serenity. You feel a soft pull toward the galaxy's outer regions, knowing that the next part of your journey will reveal the dance of gas, dust, and darkness, flowing around unseen black holes with grace, elegance, and quiet persistence. And as you drift from the luminous core, you carry with you the lesson of patience and centrality, the knowledge that even the most powerful forces can be gentle, and that structure, rhythm, and care can guide a galaxy's story over billions of years. You drift outward from Andromeda's nucleus, letting your awareness expand to include the soft clouds of gas and dust that weave through its spiral arms. They move slowly, almost imperceptibly, like gentle whirlpools of cosmic material, tracing arcs around invisible centers of gravity. You notice how their motion is not chaotic. Each particle flows along precise channels, guided by forces you cannot see but can feel. There is a quiet poetry in their paths, a slow and deliberate choreography that fills the galaxy with subtle motion. The clouds of gas drift inward, sometimes forming long, filamentary structures that bend and twist with elegance. You sense that these currents are influenced not only by the central black hole but also by smaller, hidden black holes scattered throughout the arms. These unseen masses create gentle dips and curves in the fabric of spacetime, guiding the motion of matter along soft, invisible paths. You float alongside these currents, your mind attuned to the rhythm of this silent dance. You notice the differences in density, how some regions glow softly from star formation while others remain shadowed and cool. The brighter areas emit subtle light, scattered across space, while darker regions hold potential, raw material waiting to condense into stars over millions of years. You sense the slow pulse of creation, the universe nurturing new life quietly, patiently, in the spaces where light and darkness intermingle. There is no rush here, only gradual transformation and careful alignment with gravity's guiding hands. The motions of gas and dust remind you of water flowing around obstacles. Each spiral is shaped by forces both near and far, bending smoothly, curving naturally, never colliding violently. You imagine the particles gliding along these paths for millions of years, forming arcs, sheets, and waves. Their motion is governed by gravity, the curvature of spacetime, and subtle interactions with neighboring stars, yet it remains elegant and deliberate, a cosmic ballet performed with infinite patience. You focus on one particularly dense cloud. Its outer layers shimmer with faint starlight, while its inner regions remain cool and dark. You drift alongside it, feeling the pull of gravity as the material begins to collapse inward. The motion is slow, almost meditative, like leaves spiraling into a gentle whirlpool. You realize that even in this process of condensation, there is grace. The transformation of diffuse gas into potential stars follows patterns of quiet precision rather than chaos. As you observe, you sense the influence of hidden black holes scattered within these clouds. Though invisible, their presence is apparent in the curvature of orbits, the subtle bending of light, and the careful alignment of matter. You imagine each black hole as a silent conductor, guiding the motion without intervention or display. Stars, dust, and gas respond naturally to its influence, moving along the paths dictated by spacetime's gentle dips and curves. The universe operates with quiet authority. You drift among spirals of dust, feeling the interplay of light and shadow. Some regions are illuminated softly by nearby stars, while others are cloaked in darkness. The contrast is gentle, creating patterns of subtle beauty that your awareness can trace. You sense that even darkness has a role here. It gives structure, contrast, and rhythm, allowing the light to be appreciated fully. The dance of matter is inseparable from the presence of the unseen, the hidden, and the quiet. You notice how the material flows toward areas of higher density, forming elongated streams and arcs. These flows are slow, yet steady, moving as if guided by an invisible hand. You follow one such spiral inward, feeling the gradual acceleration as the gravitational pull of the central mass increases. There is no panic, no chaos, only the natural alignment of motion with the curves of spacetime. The universe teaches patience through every gentle drift and sweep of matter. Some clouds seem to fold in on themselves, creating pockets where gas and dust gather, waiting for the right conditions to ignite new stars. You drift through these regions, feeling the quiet anticipation in the cosmos, a gentle tension that is neither alarming nor hurried. The universe operates on timescales far beyond ordinary perception. Yet in these subtle motions, you sense the rhythm of creation itself. Even the smallest particles participate in this vast, ongoing performance. As you follow these flows, you notice that light itself is being subtly bent by the invisible mass hidden among the gas. Photons trace arcs around unseen black holes, creating delicate distortions in the glow of the spiral arms. You sense these hidden presences through the gentle curvature of light, a reminder that not all influence is visible. The universe communicates through motion, shape, and subtle patterns, allowing you to perceive its presence even in the absence of direct illumination. You imagine the spiral as a slow river of stars, gas, and dust, each element moving in response to gravity, curvature, and neighbors. The motion is continuous and harmonious, a soft rhythm that carries across light years of space. Even in apparent stillness, there is movement, a flowing, breathing quality that fills the galaxy with life. You feel yourself becoming attuned to this rhythm, your breath and awareness aligning with the pulse of the cosmic dance. The darkness among the spirals is not empty. It is part of the choreography. It provides the space for motion, the silence against which activity is revealed. You sense that every void, every dark region has its own purpose, to guide, to balance, to create context for the luminous material. Even absence carries information, influence, and subtle guidance. The dance of gas, dust, and darkness is inseparable from the underlying geometry of spacetime, which shapes every curve and spiral with quiet precision. You notice that the spirals are not static. They ripple slowly, like waves passing through a calm ocean. Disturbances propagate along the arcs, interacting gently with neighboring flows, creating patterns that are subtle and meditative. You follow one wave, feeling its rhythm, sensing how it carries energy without violence, shaping motion without force. You understand that in this gentle unfolding, even the most powerful influences operate with elegance, patience, and care. As you drift outward again, observing multiple spiral arms and hidden black holes, you begin to sense a universality in these motions. The same principles that guide gas and dust here also govern the orbits of stars, the paths of photons, and the structure of clusters and galaxies. Gravity, curvature, and motion are threads woven into the fabric of existence, linking distant phenomena in a coherent, harmonious design. You feel part of this rhythm, a witness to the elegance of cosmic order. And as you follow these flowing currents toward the periphery of Andromeda, a soft awareness emerges. The next stage of your journey will explore the gentle tides of gravity itself, how invisible forces stretch and pull without chaos, shaping stars, gas, and light alike. You have seen how darkness partners with light, how motion follows unseen paths. Soon, you will feel the subtler, rhythmic tug of gravity that flows through everything, connecting all that you have witnessed in a quiet, continuous embrace. You drift into a region where the influence of gravity becomes more tangible, a quiet, persistent pull that shapes every motion around you. It is not abrupt or violent. It is subtle, like the gentle rise and fall of tides along a calm shoreline. You feel it stretching the fabric of space and guiding the movement of stars, gas, and light. The sensation is rhythmic and soothing, a slow heartbeat of the cosmos that connects distant objects across vast distances. You imagine floating near a star as it drifts past a black hole. Its shape stretches ever so slightly, elongated along the direction of the pull, as though the universe itself is reaching out to touch it. You sense that this is the essence of tidal force, the difference in gravitational pull across the extent of an object. Yet, despite the stretch, there is no fear here. Everything responds naturally, adjusting its path with grace and continuity. You feel a calm understanding that even immense forces can act with quiet subtlety. You notice how the pull varies with distance. Stars closer to the center of mass are stretched more, while those farther away experience a gentler tug. You imagine these variations as waves of influence, flowing across space like soft currents. The stars and gas respond, their orbits bending and spiraling along the contours of spacetime. Every motion is precise, guided by the invisible hand of gravity, yet executed with the calm elegance of a slow dance. You sense the poetry in these movements, the silent intelligence behind every tug and pull. Drifting closer to a black hole, the stretching becomes more pronounced but still measured. You feel the space around you gently curve and elongate, time itself subtly stretching along with the fabric. The effect is not chaotic. It is deliberate, like a hand pulling on a piece of fabric to reveal the underlying shape. You watch gas clouds and dust arcs adjust their paths, flowing into new configurations without collision, without haste. Even destruction here is calm, inevitable yet dignified. You observe two stars orbiting each other near a tidal center. Their mutual pull is enhanced by the black hole's influence, elongating their shapes and altering their paths. You sense the delicate balance required to maintain stability. The stars do not snap or tear. They respond gracefully, their internal structure accommodating the stretch. You feel the beauty of this cosmic dialogue, how forces interact without chaos, shaping motion with precision and patience. The tides extend beyond individual stars. You notice how spiral arms of gas feel the pull, bending and curving as they drift inward. The arcs of motion are soft, yet persistent, like currents in a vast, silent ocean. You imagine that every particle of dust, every photon of light, feels the same guidance, moving along paths dictated by invisible curvature and force. There is a consistency here that is comforting, a quiet reliability that reassures you even in the vastness of space. You drift through a cloud of gas stretched by tidal forces. Its outer layers elongate gently, forming long, subtle streams that curve toward the center. You sense the patience in this process. Nothing is rushed, nothing forced. The cloud adjusts its internal structure to the pull, flowing along the contours of space as though guided by an unseen artist. You feel that this is the universe's quiet teaching, that influence does not require aggression, and that connection shapes form without violence. You notice patterns emerging in the motion of multiple stars. Each orbit is slightly altered by the differential pull of gravity, yet together they form a harmonious structure. You feel the rhythm of this orchestration, a slow, meditative cadence that echoes across light years. Even in complexity, there is serenity. The tidal forces are not random. They are part of a grand, continuous flow that organizes matter and energy with subtle precision. You sense that order and beauty coexist in every tug, every curve, every motion. You imagine yourself floating through this cosmic tide. The stretching of space beneath you, the gentle tug on matter, the curvature of orbits. All of it resonates with a rhythm you can feel in your own awareness. Time stretches slightly here, not alarmingly, but perceptibly, reminding you that gravity shapes both motion and perception. You feel a connection to the forces around you, as if the universe is whispering its secret, that every pull, every stretch, is an act of care, an alignment that maintains harmony across the cosmos. The effect is not limited to the central black hole. You sense smaller, hidden black holes influencing their surroundings in similar ways. Their tidal forces are subtler, yet no less real. Stars and gas clouds respond to each mass, adjusting their paths as if following a gentle choreography written into spacetime itself. You drift among these interactions, noticing the variety and complexity, yet also the underlying order that ties everything together. The galaxy is alive in its motion, and every element participates in the quiet dance of gravity. You notice how the curvature of space interacts with the tides. Orbits bend slightly in response to the differential pull, creating arcs and spirals that flow naturally. You sense that this is the deeper geometry at work, that gravity and spacetime together create a landscape that guides every motion. The pull is not uniform. It varies, adapts, and harmonizes. You imagine tracing these invisible contours, feeling the subtle slopes beneath your mind's awareness, learning to follow the rhythm without effort. You drift outward again, observing clusters of stars and streams of gas stretched by tidal forces. Even at these distances, the pull is perceptible, a reminder that connection extends across vast spaces. Each star is influenced by neighbors and hidden masses, yet all maintain elegant orbits. You feel the calm consistency in this order, a quiet teaching about balance, patience, and the beauty of interconnectedness. Gravity's touch is both gentle and firm, guiding without chaos, shaping without haste. You notice the interplay between motion and distance. The farther a star is from the central mass, the softer the stretch. The closer it is, the more pronounced. Yet the response is always graceful. Stars elongate, orbit, and adjust with subtle precision. Gas flows, light bends, and dust drifts in patterns that are continuous, coherent, and mesmerizing. You sense the universality of this force. That tidal influence is a language written into the motion of everything, connecting points across space in silent conversation. You reflect on what you have felt. The soft tug of gravity, the stretching of matter, the flow of stars, gas, and dust. You understand that these tides are not violent interruptions, but quiet guides, shaping the universe with gentle authority. They are the invisible currents that maintain the coherence of galaxies, clusters, and even individual star systems. You feel a deep connection to this rhythm, a resonance that expands your awareness, letting your mind float in alignment with the cosmic flow. And as you drift further, leaving behind the spirals and arcs shaped by tidal forces, a soft anticipation arises. The next stage of your journey will lead you to the echoes of stars that never reached you, their light bent and hidden by unseen black holes. Their absence itself becomes presence, and you will sense the memory of celestial events through the gentle distortions left in spacetime. You carry with you the rhythm of tides, ready to perceive the quiet traces of light that speak across the void. You drift further from the visible regions of Andromeda, letting your awareness stretch into the spaces between light and shadow. Here, the stars are not just distant. Some of them never reach you at all. Their light, bent or absorbed by the gravity of unseen black holes, drifts silently elsewhere, never completing the journey to your eyes. You sense them as echoes, faint presences that exist beyond perception, yet still influence the tapestry of the galaxy. Their existence is quiet, a soft footprint in the universe. You imagine these stars long ago, born in clouds of gas and dust, glowing with brilliance that you can no longer witness. They lived, burned, and perhaps collapsed, leaving behind remnants that are hidden or invisible. The light they emitted stretches across time and space, encountering obstacles that divert, bend, or absorb it. You sense the weight of their absence, not as emptiness, but as another kind of presence, a memory encoded in the motion of matter, the curvature of space, and the faint disturbances in gravitational fields. Some photons began their journey toward you but never arrived. They curved around invisible masses, spiraled into hidden black holes, or diffused into the vastness of space. You imagine tracing their paths, following the invisible arcs and bends, feeling the gentle tug of gravity that altered their courses. Even though they never reach you, you perceive the story they carry. The history of the star, its energy, and the forces it encountered along the way. Absence becomes a subtle form of presence, a hidden narrative etched into the fabric of the galaxy. You float through regions where multiple hidden black holes influence light and matter. Stars orbit around centers you cannot see, their paths altered by invisible masses. Gas clouds curve softly, as if responding to unseen hands. You sense that even in the void, in places where light fails to arrive, there is structure. The absence of light is not chaos. It is a quiet pattern that your mind can perceive, a soft resonance of the gravitational architecture that guides Andromeda's hidden stars. Some of these absent stars were massive, collapsing into black holes themselves, becoming new agents in the galaxy's invisible network. You imagine them silently shaping the motion of surrounding matter, bending light that might have reached you, redirecting it in subtle ways. Even in disappearance, they contribute to the cosmic story, influencing galaxies without fanfare, leaving echoes that ripple across space and time. Their effect is profound, yet gentle, a reminder that influence need not be seen to be felt. You notice the faint distortions in regions where light bends around hidden masses. Photons curve in arcs you cannot directly observe, yet you feel their path, like a soft whisper brushing past your awareness. The effect is almost musical, a subtle harmony of bending, stretching, and folding, creating patterns in space that exist even without visible evidence. You imagine reading these distortions like a language, each curve, each deflection, a letter in a story written across billions of light years. The absence of light becomes a form of meditation. You allow your awareness to settle on what is not visible, listening to the subtle echoes of ancient stars. You feel the gravitational pull of masses that cannot be seen, the gentle bending of space and time that guides motion and memory. In these silent influences, you sense continuity, connection, and coherence. The universe communicates through what is hidden as much as through what is visible, and you feel a quiet reverence for this invisible architecture. You follow a hypothetical photon's journey, imagining the obstacles it encounters. Clouds of gas, the curvature of spacetime, the pull of distant black holes. Each interaction subtly alters its trajectory, slowing it, bending it, perhaps even swallowing it entirely. You sense the patience of this journey, the long stretches of time and space over which it unfolds. Even in failure, the photon's path carries information, and you feel its story resonate gently with your awareness. Absence itself becomes a messenger, whispering truths that light alone cannot convey. You drift past regions of Andromeda where stars once shone but are now gone, their remnants hidden or invisible. You sense their histories in the orbits of neighboring stars, in the patterns of gas and dust, in the curvature of spacetime. Their memory is encoded in motion, subtle shifts, and quiet anomalies. You feel that you can read these echoes if you pay attention, that the universe leaves breadcrumbs even where it seems empty. Absence is layered with meaning, gentle and profound, carrying the weight of billions of years. You imagine the galaxy as a delicate web, with visible stars forming luminous threads and hidden masses, along with absent light, shaping the spaces between. You sense that every missing photon, every invisible black hole, every subtle bend contributes to the overall coherence. The absence of light becomes a rhythm, a silent pulse that complements the visible glow. You feel attuned to this rhythm, your mind floating along with the echoes of stars that never reached you, understanding the unity of presence and absence. Some light curves so much that it nearly circles a black hole before escaping, delayed for eons. You imagine the photons stretching, spiraling, carrying messages of their origin across unimaginable distances. Even when they never reach an observer, their journey is real, purposeful, and beautiful. You sense a lesson in this, that journeys themselves carry meaning, regardless of whether they are witnessed, and that the universe's stories are not dependent solely on visibility. You reflect on the quiet dignity of these hidden stars. They exist, they influence, they leave traces in the motions and patterns around them. You realize that absence is not nothing. It is a gentle presence, a soft whisper that teaches patience, attention, and reverence. You feel your awareness expand to include these invisible actors, acknowledging their subtle role in shaping Andromeda's structure, its light, and its hidden currents. And as you drift further, leaving behind the hidden echoes and faint distortions, a soft awareness emerges. The next stage of your journey will bring you closer to the edge of time itself, near a black hole's event horizon. There, time stretches, slows, and bends in ways that you can feel as a gentle rhythm. You carry with you the memory of absent stars and hidden forces, ready to sense the quiet pulse of spacetime itself, and the subtle beauty of stillness at the edge of gravity's grasp. You drift closer to a black hole, the immense mass at the center of Andromeda's core. Its presence is not alarming. It is serene, patient, and omnipresent. You sense the pull not as danger, but as a soft invitation, a gravitational rhythm that guides everything around it. Time itself begins to feel different here. Each moment stretches like a gentle sigh, long and unhurried. You notice that your perception adjusts naturally, your mind attuned to the slow, deliberate cadence of spacetime near the horizon. The event horizon is not a wall or barrier. It is a quiet boundary, the soft shoreline where space curves so steeply that escape becomes impossible. You sense it as a place of stillness, where motion slows and the usual rhythms of clocks and pulses are altered. Your awareness stretches along with it, each heartbeat lengthened, each breath expanding into something vast and meditative. Time here is flexible, gentle, and patient, inviting reflection rather than haste. You imagine a photon traveling toward the black hole. This path bends more sharply as it approaches the horizon, slowing in its journey from your perspective. You sense that its light is stretched, elongated, and diffused. There is no abrupt disappearance, only a gradual transformation as spacetime itself curves. You feel the elegance of this bending, the delicate precision with which gravity shapes every trajectory. The process is calm, inevitable, and profoundly beautiful. You drift alongside a star orbiting near the horizon. Its motion seems to slow in your awareness, not because it has stopped, but because time itself stretches in this region. You notice the soft arcs of its orbit, elongated and gentle, like a slow dance performed in a suspended moment. The star responds to gravity with perfect patience, flowing along its path without tension, without fear, fully aligned with the contours of spacetime. You feel yourself mirroring this rhythm, your thoughts stretching along with the star's motion. Even the surrounding gas behaves with quiet deliberation. Streams of material drift inward, stretching along the curvature of spacetime, forming elongated arcs that flow like slow rivers of light and shadow. You sense the beauty in this motion, how every particle aligns with the gravitational contours, adjusting its pace in harmony with the slow passage of time. There is no hurry here, no rush to collide or disperse. Everything moves with a serene inevitability, a cosmic patience that feels meditative and comforting. You imagine a clock hovering near the event horizon. Its hands move, but slowly, stretched by gravity's influence. You feel the rhythm of its seconds as if each tick has lengthened, expanding your sense of duration. Minutes feel like hours, hours like days, yet there is no tension in this stretching. It is gentle, like the elongation of a soft melody, each note given room to resonate fully. Time here is not lost. It is amplified, prolonged, and enriched, allowing your awareness to linger in each moment. You drift closer, noticing the curvature of space itself. The black hole's gravity is immense, yet it does not feel violent. Instead, it bends space like a gentle hand shaping soft fabric. You feel the subtle gradients, the gradual tilts, the slow warps that guide motion and light alike. Each curve is precise, measured, and elegant. The event horizon is the point at which these curves become extreme, where the soft bending of spacetime reaches a quiet, profound limit. You observe light stretching near the horizon. Photons curve around the mass, tracing arcs that appear suspended in time. You imagine these photons as delicate threads, weaving patterns across the fabric of spacetime, showing the invisible geometry of gravity. You sense the depth of these distortions, the quiet complexity that guides every particle, every ray of light. Even absence becomes presence here, a gentle reminder that what is invisible shapes the universe as profoundly as what is visible. You notice how nearby stars seem to move more slowly from your perspective. Their orbits elongate, time dilates, yet they continue their motions with grace. You feel that this slowing is not a trap, but a transformation. A subtle shift that allows observation, reflection, and awareness to expand. You sense the meditative quality of this environment, where every action is extended, every motion deliberate, and every heartbeat deepened. The horizon itself is not a line of danger. It is a threshold of understanding. You sense that beyond it, physics as you know it continues, but differently. Space, time, and causality all shift, blending into a landscape you can feel but not fully see. There is no fear here, only curiosity and awe. You feel the patience of the universe, teaching that boundaries are not always barriers, but gentle thresholds inviting reflection. You imagine floating just outside this boundary, where the tidal forces are noticeable but not overwhelming. The stretching of stars, gas, and dust is apparent, yet everything moves in rhythm, responding to gravity's gentle guidance. You sense that even immense forces can be expressed with elegance, that immense pull does not require abrupt motion, and that structure emerges naturally when matter aligns with the contours of spacetime. You feel a profound calm as you witness this harmony. You consider the nature of time itself near the horizon. Moments expand, perception stretches, and events unfold with deliberate patience. You sense that time is a malleable medium, shaped by gravity as it shapes space. Each second is drawn out, providing room for observation, reflection, and understanding. You feel connected to this rhythm, your awareness moving with the currents of stretched time, sensing the heartbeat of the cosmos in its slow, measured flow. You drift past elongated streams of light and matter, observing how even the most subtle tidal effects shape motion. Each particle responds to the curvature of spacetime, following paths dictated by invisible geometry. There is no chaos, no abrupt collision, only the quiet, persistent organization of matter under gravity's influence. You feel the patience in these motions, the elegance in the flow, and the meditative quality of watching forces unfold over vast scales. You reflect on the experience. Near a black hole, time itself is soft, space itself bends with care, and motion becomes an expression of patience. There is no fear, only understanding, and a deep sense of harmony. You feel that even the most extreme environments in the universe possess rhythm, grace, and structure. The black hole is not a destroyer here. It is a teacher, revealing the beauty of stretched time and shaped space. And as you drift slightly away from the edge, letting the horizon recede gently from your awareness, a soft anticipation emerges. The next part of your journey will allow you to step back from Andromeda entirely, seeing the hidden patterns of black holes across the galaxy. You will discover a secret map drawn in darkness, where the invisible guides the visible, and absence and presence blend into a silent, coherent structure. You carry the sense of slowed time and stretched space with you, ready to perceive the quiet architecture of the universe in its entirety. You drift outward from the dense heart of Andromeda, giving yourself room to observe the galaxy as a whole. From this vantage, the spirals of stars, gas, and dust spread gracefully in all directions, their luminous arcs painting patterns that your mind can now trace. But your attention is drawn less to the light than to the spaces in between, the shadows, the faint distortions, and the hidden presences that shape the galaxy from the invisible. Here, you begin to sense a secret map, drawn not in brightness, but in the subtle pull of gravity and the echoes of unseen black holes. You imagine each hidden mass as a quiet anchor, tugging softly on its surroundings, bending the paths of stars and photons alike. Alone, each pull might seem negligible, almost imperceptible. But together, these invisible presences weave a network across Andromeda, connecting distant points through soft curves and gentle gradients. You feel the structure not as rigid lines, but as flowing, organic patterns, a lattice of influence stretching across the galactic arms. Darkness is not emptiness. It is a scaffold, a quiet architecture of cosmic memory and motion. The spirals of light now appear as layers draped over this hidden framework. Stars drift along gentle slopes of spacetime, their orbits subtly shaped by the interplay of visible and invisible forces. You notice the faint deviations in paths you might have once considered random. Each is a hint, a clue revealing the presence of masses you cannot see. You feel like a cartographer of the cosmos, tracing the contours of a secret geography etched into the invisible by gravity's patient hand. You follow one such curve, a gentle arc linking two luminous clusters. Between them lies darkness so deep it seems absolute, yet you sense a hidden mass, a black hole quietly exerting its influence. The stars surrounding it drift in subtle orbits, gas flows bend in slow spirals, and light itself traces delicate arcs around the unseen center. You feel the interplay of presence and absence, realizing that the universe communicates as much through the invisible as it does through what is illuminated. You drift across more regions, observing hidden black holes that vary in size and power. Some are small, subtle, almost negligible on their own, yet they contribute to the larger pattern. Others are massive, shaping entire clusters, curving the motion of countless stars. You feel the contrast between them as part of the galaxy's rhythm, minor and major influences blending, layering, and composing a quiet symphony of gravitational guidance. Each mass is a note, each path a line of melody, forming a song you can sense without hearing. The gas and dust flows that once seemed random now reveal alignment. Streams bend along invisible contours, arcs of matter responding to hidden tugs and pulls. You notice that these currents often intersect with areas of darkness where you cannot see the source. Yet the motion itself tells you the story. That hidden presence shapes the galaxy, even without light. You feel the elegance of this invisible choreography, the gentle patience of the universe as it organizes matter over millions of years. You imagine the galaxy as a living map. Every black hole, every hidden mass, every faint distortion in light draws subtle lines of influence. It is as if the universe has drawn its own secret chart, one that can only be read by sensing motion, tracing curvature, and following the echoes left in space. You feel privileged to glimpse it, to float above and perceive the invisible threads connecting all that exists. The darkness is alive with meaning, a quiet force that guides as surely as the star's light. You focus on one particularly massive, hidden black hole. Its gravitational reach curves the paths of surrounding stars, bends the motion of nearby gas, and subtly distorts light traveling past it. You trace these effects like lines on a map, noticing how each interaction contributes to a coherent pattern. Even where nothing is visible, structure exists. The galaxy is not chaotic. It is carefully composed, a record of forces, influence, and history written across space itself. You sense the deep intelligence inherent in these patterns, the calm order of cosmic design. You move farther out, tracing connections between multiple hidden masses. Some lie near luminous clusters, others in regions of near-total darkness. The patterns stretch across spiral arms, crisscrossing voids, linking distant points in a lattice of subtle influence. You sense the harmony in this arrangement. Every pull, every curve, every hidden center contributes to the balance of the galaxy. The map is not static. It evolves as stars drift, black holes move, and gas flows adjust. Yet the underlying structure remains, a persistent, patient presence shaping everything around it. You notice how even light is affected by this hidden network. Photons curve around unseen masses, creating arcs, distortions, and elongations that silently trace the map. Each path carries the imprint of gravity, bending and stretching to reveal the invisible. You feel the universe communicating through absence, through what cannot be directly seen. Light becomes a messenger, and darkness becomes its canvas. You sense the profound beauty in this balance, the interplay of visible and invisible, of presence and absence, of action and silent guidance. You drift slowly, letting your awareness expand, tracing the full reach of these hidden connections. You sense the patience in the design, The way every black hole, every gravitational influence, holds the galaxy together with quiet authority. There is no rush, no chaos, no violence. Only the gentle orchestration of forces across unimaginable distances. You feel the harmony in the imperceptible, the poetry in the unseen, and the elegance in the quiet pull that shapes entire stellar neighborhoods. You reflect on the journey you have taken through Andromeda. You have floated past visible stars, along spiraling clouds of gas, through regions of stretched time and slowed motion, and alongside light that never reached you. And now, from this wide perspective, you see the hidden map, the network of black holes, the silent architecture, the lines of influence that guide the galaxy. You sense that understanding does not require seeing everything. It requires noticing patterns, listening to subtle forces, and following the quiet rhythm of the universe. You feel gratitude for the invisible, for the quiet presences that shape reality without spectacle. You realize that darkness is not emptiness. It is structure, memory, and power. It is as vital as the brightest stars, as crucial as the spirals of gas and dust. You carry this insight with you, feeling connected to a universe that communicates through subtlety, patience, and gentle guidance. The invisible map of Andromeda becomes a metaphor for all that is unseen in your own experience. The quiet currents shaping thought, influence, and connection. And as you drift further from Andromeda, seeing both its luminous beauty and the hidden map etched in darkness, a soft awareness settles over you. You understand that the universe's secrets are not always visible, but they are perceptible if you move gently, observe carefully, and listen with patience. Every hidden black hole, every absent photon, every subtle distortion contributes to the story of the galaxy. You close your journey with the sense that what is unseen can guide as surely as what is seen, and that even in darkness, there is connection, memory, and quiet, enduring beauty.